Alright, what's going on everybody? So before I get into this video, let me just start out by saying congratulations to Kimberly Ann Campbell for landing the role of Hayase Nagatoro. The English dub for Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro has only been out for a couple of days and there is already discourse online surrounding it. There are already people out there bashing the English dub, saying that it sucks, and then of course there were some people who couldn't help but compare it to the Japanese dub and claim that this newer version is inferior. Anyone calling the English dub trash needs to shut up. Listen, I didn't expect to love the show as much as I did when it aired last year. One of the things that I thought was good about the series was the voice acting, especially for Nagatoro. Usually when it comes to the Japanese dub, the voice acting is something that rarely ever sticks out to me. This could be partially due to the language barrier and the different approach to voice acting compared to the West. There aren't a lot of anime that I prefer to watch in Japanese, so when I hear what I consider to be an excellent performance in a Japanese dub, I'm always curious if the English dub can deliver the same level of quality. In my opinion, I think Kimberly has absolutely nailed the role so far. I've heard a few solid fan dubs for the character before, but I believe her performance can stand alongside the Japanese dub. She sounds exactly how I thought Nagatoro should sound in English. I'm so glad Crunchyroll went with someone who hasn't done a bunch of work instead of Monica Rao or Jamie Marchi. Then again, I had my doubts that they were going to be cast in the role due to the show being on Crunchyroll. Had the show been on Funimation, I think we would have gotten a very safe casting choice. I'm not too familiar with Kimberly. Heck, I'm just finding out that she's a black woman, which makes me even happier that she got the role, because it's always nice to see my people shine in that industry. It's sad to see comments of people getting mad that the characters are being voiced by a black woman. The racist people came out in droves on Twitter and were quick to point out that the character isn't black. The character is tan, like we get it, we know. Can we have this? Can we have this? We know the character isn't black. That doesn't matter. Y'all don't get this upset when a white person voices an Asian character. I've always said you cast the best person for the role, and she seems like the best person for the role. Anyway, she only has 11 credits to her name. She was in Hunter x Hunter, Pokemon Masters, Kuro and Tuesday, Godzilla, Singularity Point, among other things. I thought that Eric Scott Kimmer has done a good job as Naoto, or Senpai as he's referred to in the show. At first I mistook Eric for Tanjiro's English dub voice actor. Unlike Kimberly, he's been working for over a decade and has been in a lot of stuff. He was in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind, Demon Slayer, Mob Psycho 100, the 2017 version of Berserk, and ReZero, among other things. Like I said before, the performances in the English dub are impressive, and I think it's ridiculous that people won't at least give the show a few episodes before dismissing it. Let me be clear, if you don't like the voice acting, that's totally fine, but is it too much to ask to let the voice actors, especially Kimberly, who doesn't have a ton of experience, find their footing with the character? As to be expected, the English release of this show has sparked another sub versus dub debate that usually is never productive. When I first started this channel back in 2013, one of my first discussion videos was on this very topic. Looking back on it now, the video was awful, but I've been wanting to revisit this topic for a while now, so I think right now is a good time to talk about it. There is always a certain group of people that no matter what the show is, will always champion the Japanese dub over the English version. They will always claim that the Japanese performances have more emotion, but I believe that the difference comes down to the approach. I'm no expert when it comes to voice acting, but in my opinion, the Japanese voice acting tends to be a bit more exaggerated than what we hear in the English dub. Let me ask y'all something. In general, do you think that the English dub has to match or closely emulate the Japanese version? Years ago, I saw a video where someone from the One Piece cast mentioned how they looked at the Japanese dub and how they tried to get their performances close to that. I'm sure many productions do that, and I certainly see why they would. I assume that one of the reasons why someone might prefer to watch the Japanese version of an anime is for the authenticity. I remember seeing people online saying that they went to go see the Demon Slayer movie with subtitles, and I'm sure that was one of the reasons why. However, I don't believe that these voice actors' performances need to be one-to-one or close to the Japanese dub. I believe these companies just need to cast someone whose tone, voice, and cadence fits the character regardless of how different it is. Some people love to say that the Japanese dub is better, but the funny thing is that those same people don't know a lick of Japanese. Take away those subtitles and you don't understand a word that those characters are saying. Only someone who is fluent or at least has some kind of foundation in Japanese can really tell whether the voice acting in a show is good or not. There are probably many Japanese dubs that you might consider good that someone living in Japan thinks is horrendous. Your opinion as someone who didn't grow up in the culture hearing the language wouldn't hold as much weight as someone who did. Would you try to argue with them and claim that they're wrong? The point I'm trying to make is that when we judge the Japanese dub, the majority of us are doing it from an outsider's perspective. A lot of us are ignorant when it comes to that language, which is totally fine. I think one reason why people tend to look down on English dubs is due to them experiencing a series in Japanese first. That statement might sound crazy, but I've seen it and experienced it firsthand. Back in 2018 when I first started watching My Hero Academia, my brother came in one day when I was watching the show in English, and he thought that Deku and Bakugo's voices sounded weird. This is because he had only watched the show in Japanese. Going from one language to another can be jarring at first because you're not used to the voices sounding a certain way. There have been instances where I've gone from watching a show for weeks in Japanese to the English version where it took time for me to warm up to some of the voices. Going back to what I said earlier about giving the voice actors time to get comfortable with their roles, you might also need to give yourself time to adjust to these different voice actors. It's important to judge the English performances on their own merit rather than solely against the Japanese cast. At the end of the day, it all comes down to preference. I realize that there's more to this topic that could be discussed, such as the English translations and dialogue changes that may be detrimental or beneficial to certain scenes, but I don't want this video to be too long. What I will say in regards to Nagatoro, I noticed some of the dialogue changes, but none of them were bad. They didn't affect the characterization or the context of the scenes. If you prefer the Japanese sub dialogue over the English, that's totally fine. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Nagatoro, the English dub, and the internet reaction. Let me know what you guys think about the whole situation in the comment section below and the whole sub and dub thing, sub versus dub thing. And thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.